Hi, this is Roland Jean Charles from PMI JCM Realty Group, where we manage properties from an asset management perspective. Today, what we're going to be talking about is, are you ready to grow your portfolio? 8 things to look for before you buy. Now, before you buy another property, there are a few things that you need to look for first. Grow your rental property portfolio with these tips. Now, what I'm going to go through today are some key things that you need to look out for when you're ready to buy your next property or to grow your portfolio. These are some, I guess, high level tips that you can use. You can make a checklist out of them to make sure that all these boxes are checked before you purchase your next before you purchase your next properties. I mean, we've had articles that we talked about how to use the MLS. We've also had other properties, I mean, um, other discussions or other articles where we talked about how strategies to grow your portfolio. And there's no crystal ball. I mean, there's no guarantee, and nothing that you can do can guarantee that you're going to get a return on your investment or you're going to make the right decision. However, if you use these 8 tips, you're better more often than not, you're going to get a better outcome, right? And that's the goal here. And so the first tip that we want to tell you is that location matters, right? And that's the first rule of real estate, really, right? Location, location, location. As a real estate agent, property manager, that's what they teach us and when we're getting trained in school. And for you as an owner, that's something that you need to keep in mind as well. Well, we usually do it from a property management and real estate agent perspective is we have areas that we farm. We learn everything we can about that area, and then we make that area the market that we specialize in. I recommend that for you as an owner, right? Pick an area that you really like. Learn all the good, the bad, the ugly about the area. There's some people who like very high-end areas, $500,000 properties and more. There's some people who like the mid blue collar areas, right, from 1 to 300,000, right, maybe 1 to 250,000. And there's some people who like areas that have properties in the 40 to 100,000. I mean, yeah, 40,000 to 100,000, right? So I mean, I think there is a niche for everyone, right? It just depends on who you are and how you see yourself as an investor, right? And so I've seen people work and be successful in all those 3 types of markets. So location, 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 learn your location. Location matters. And if you have an issue trying to identify a good location, you can always reach out to me and I can give you some great tips about how to identify some key aspects of areas that makes one location stronger than the other, right? Like for example, one of those key things is great anchors, right? And I can tell you what anchors to look for, and what anchors would be good to be sustainable, and it will let you know that your property has a better chance than not of being rented because of that particular anchor, right? And so those are the kind of things that we have insight to, that I have insight to, that I definitely would like to share with you. You can connect with me online, offline, by sending me an email or adding a meeting to my calendar. But that's definitely something that you probably need to identify those key anchors. But at the end of the day, we're not going to get into that here because that's beyond the scope of what we're discussing. Just understand that location matters and make sure that you take that into account. The next is property taxes, right? You have places like New York, right, in Nassau County. I mean, where your taxes sometimes are as much or as much or more than your mortgage, right? I mean, the taxes are really high, and then you have places like Memphis where your taxes are really low. Um, from my experience in the Tampa metro area, where I have my property management company, the taxes are very reasonable, right? And it doesn't overtake the property, financially. And so you're able to buy properties, invest in them, and put a tenant in there and still get a good return on investment with good, decent market rates, right? So do your homework and understand the type of properties that you're buying and the property taxes. Along the lines of property taxes that you need to consider are HOA fees, or CDDs, you can reach out to me if you want to discuss more about those. Those are definitely fees that can, put a wrinkle in your bottom line. So you got to know how to account for that and make sure that when you're buying a property, those things are taken into account or can really kill your profits, right? So property taxes and other fees, I would say, are things that you definitely want to look out for, right? The next tip is you need to understand the job market and the economics of the neighborhood, right? So if you're in a neighborhood that is that's in a growth mode, or an area that's in a growth mode, then that's the kind of area you want to be in. Like, for example, right now, Uptown and Midtown in Tampa are areas that are seeing a great deal of investment and a great deal of growth, right? And they also have great anchors around them that make people want to move into those areas. So if you're an investor, those are the type of areas that you want to try to focus on. Those areas where a lot of money's coming in. And the thing is, particularly with Uptown, majority of the area is an opportunity zone, right? And so that adds additional tax incentives and benefits to investors. So make sure you keep an eye out for that, right? The job market and economic conditions, because that will let you know, that will give you some insight into if you're able to get your property rented and how quickly you'll be able to get it rented, because you'll have prospects in the area looking to move close to that property, particularly with the cost of gas prices right now, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. People want to live closer to where they live. For me, for example, I moved closer to my office 5 minutes, and the difference in lifestyle is so much different. I moved into Uptown actually to be closer to my office, because driving all the way from where I lived up in Pasco County was just a burden, and I didn't realize how convenient it was, how good it felt to not have to be able to get my office in 5 minutes. I don't have to lug everything around anymore because it's right there. I can just go to my office 5 minutes and come back, right? Everything is so much more convenient when you're closer, right? So job market and economics is definitely a good stat, or something, a good point to look at when you are buying an investment property. Then you also want to look at existing listings, right? Right. I mean, there are a lot of people who sell their properties because they can get their money out of them, right? They're like, oh my God, the market's hot right now, so let me sell. And then everybody sells because the market's hot and they're trying to get their money out their property, right? That doesn't mean that the area is not a good area to rent. And just because people are selling their property, they're probably just taking advantage of the market, which is what they should be doing, right? But you should definitely look at the listings and see what property is going for. Now, if properties are the values are going down, then that's probably something you want to look at, right? But if the values aren't going down, and the area is still desirable, you can continue to invest in those area, even if the existing listings in the area show that a lot of people are selling their homes to move. Then the next thing, you want to make sure you look at the rental property conditions, right? You want to make sure you get an inspection by an inspector, right, before you buy the property, because those are all going to end up costing you on your bottom line, right? So you got to make sure you understand the condition of the property. You add that to the cost of doing business, and then you make sure that you either account for it on the front end when you're buying the property, or you account for it on the back end um, when you're renting the property. But either way, you have to make sure that the market can support whatever cost that you're trying to put out there for the renter, right? So look at the property conditions, try to get it in the best condition you can, and make sure that your agreement when you're buying the property covers you for any big ticket items, right? So it doesn't have to come out of your pocket. Next thing you want to look at is most wanted amenities, right? If you have a house that doesn't have a washer and dryer these days, you're going to have a harder time getting a tenant, right? Most most yeah, a blue collar, homes, anywhere from 150,000 to 250,000, maybe 300,000, where they're going to expect the washer and dryer to be inside the property, right? Or at least have the connection so that they can do the laundry in the homes, right? So you got to make sure that those amenities are there, right? And if you have some type of electronic security, like electronic doorbells, right, with cameras and things like that. That also adds great. Um, it also adds to the value of what you can get on the market for a property. So make sure you keep up with the trends and what people are looking for. I mean, even the color of the paint, can add value or detract from a tenant wanting to rent from you, right? So make sure you keep all that in mind when you are looking at the amenities that you're putting into a property. Next thing you want to look at is number 7 is the 1% rule, right? So the 1% rule says you should be able to rent a property for 1% of what the value is of that property. So if the property you bought the property for $150,000, you should be able to rent that property for $1,500. Now, when you get when your values get to 300, 400, $500,000, those numbers may not work quite as well. There are other rules that you can look at, but I think for the bread and butter, typical properties, blue collar properties, I'd call them. And the 1% rule is a good rule of thumb. You should always do a market analysis or have a property manager do a market analysis to make sure that you are in the ballpark. From what I've seen, most property owners, they typically rent their property for less than what the market would allow. And then they typically don't raise their rent. That's generally what I've seen. And so they lose a lot of money that way. But if you use the 1% rule, it'll definitely help you as a guide. Next thing is the capitalization rate, right? And so if you reach out to me, I can help you determine what the capitalization rate is for your particular property. And you can definitely look what that is up online. The purpose of this is not to get into the mechanics of the capitalization rate. It's just to bring it up as a key point or indicator that you should look at before you buy a property, right? And so just to recap a bit, you want to look at location. You want to look at the property taxes. You want to look at the job market and economics. You want to look at the existing listings. You want to look at the rental property condition. You want to look at the most wanted amenities. You want to use the 1% rule, and you want to check the capitalization rate. If you use these tips, it's going to relieve a whole lot of hassle for you in terms of making sure you get a good return on your investment after you buy. And as an investor, that's what you're looking for. You want to get a good return on your investment ultimately. And when you're ready to grow your portfolio and buy additional property, let us help. Our professionals can help you analyze the income and risk potential and make sure all of the pre-buying boxes are checked. It is our dedicated priority to keep you informed about the latest rental property management news and trends right here in the Tampa metro area. Sign up for our free webinar today, where we'll discuss how to streamline your rental property portfolio for maximum growth. It's a game-changing conversation you won't want to miss. And as always, you are free to join us for our online conversation with like-minded rental property investors on our Facebook group. Discuss and share ideas with other savvy property owners. Should you need more specific advice about your current growth or operational challenges that that cater to your particular investment strategy, just add a meeting to my calendar and let's connect. I think if you reach out to me, you read these articles, you come to the webinar, you join their Facebook group, it's going to help reduce the hassles that you have managing the property yourself, and it's going to help you get a better return on your investment. This is Roland Jean Charles from PMI JCM Realty Group, where we manage properties from an asset management perspective. I can be reached at rcharles, common spelling, at pmijcmrealty.com. You can also reach me directly by phone at 813-333-9617. And you can go to my website at pmijcmrealty.com. Until next time, thank you and have a great day.